what's happening in town and the world. It's the What's Happening Myron Radio Show with Myron Mays.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the What's Happening Myron Radio Show. I am Myron Mays.
And he is the Myron in What's Happening Myron.
Of course, when I'm on the radio, it's never a solo mission. When I rolls with a crew. And that crew is Miss Ronnie B, the socialite. How you doing this hour?
Hey, I'm hanging in there. And really excited to be a whole crew just by myself.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, ladies and gentlemen, part of the What's Happening Myron Radio Show crew today is a couple of really good friends of mine. One is sort of partially responsible for me sort of picking up the second leg of my radio career and everything, and I had to give this fella some credit. Whenever I talk to him, I have to, basically, give that credit. And other gentleman that's joining us on today is a really good friend of mine, and I'm involved somewhat in his program as well. But first, I want to welcome these two gentlemen, Mr. Tony Nicholson and also Pastor Maurice Johnson. Welcome to the What's Happening Myron Radio Show. Well, first of all, let me just say this right quick. Tony Nicholson, a really good friend of mine. We go back quite a few years. As a matter of fact, that last radio station that I worked at everything, those guys. We both worked for that station, and I was there for quite a while. As a matter of fact, Tony Nicholson was very instrumental in actually getting me on.
Yeah, I remember the story.
Yes,
I remember the story.
So,
well, you're a real talent, so that was easy to do.
Thank you, sir.
Yes,
thank you, sir. But sometimes talent alone, requires a little help. So talent alone, don't always get it. But it's good to have.
Well, congratulations. Somebody you've done incredible things even since then. Newspaper, radio, social media. I'm very proud of what you've done in the years that you've been working on this. I guess 5, 8 years now.
Yeah, eight years almost. Yeah,
yes, sir.
That's right.
Very proud.
And Tony has a program called Man of the House, and we're going to talk about that in just a second too. And Pastor Maurice Johnson has a program called Grooming Greatness.
That's right.
And both of these programs are really good. If you have sons, number one, that's where we're going to start. I mean, I have sons and of my own and everything, and I've actually brought my stepson to one of the Grooming Greatness events to take place on Saturday morning. But what we're going to do, just real quick, I'll let each one of you sort of give a brief description of your program and what you do, and then we'll sort of dissect it a little bit. But Tony, tell us about Man of the House.
Well, appreciate it. As you can probably tell by the name, this is for young men being raised in single-parent homes by single moms typically, and young boys look up and realize they are the man of the house. But Myron, years ago, I realized that even the boys I was working with in D.C. had very limited skills. They couldn't do very many things to help themselves, let alone helping mom. And we came together with that list of 110 tasks that every young man should know how to do before 9th grade. And the firm handshake, and setting a dinner table, tying a necktie, checking the pressures on mom's tires or what have you. Putting a cabinet door back on its hinges, basic things. And our young men simply, because of whatever reason, we're not able to do a lot of these. So we crafted this years ago. We focus on civil rights history, hands-on work skills, and of course their personal and spiritual development. We want to stand them up straight and put something on their minds, and that's what Man of the House mentoring is all about.
And I always say this whenever I get into a conversation on you and your program and what you do. You mentioned just a second ago tying a tie.
Yes, sir.
Now, I remember when I was like in the 7th grade, I remember reading an article in Ebony magazine. As a matter of fact, they actually had an article on how to tie a tie. And just so happened there had been an old tie or something around the house. By reading that article, that's how I learned to tie a necktie. And I mean, and here it is, I have to wear one like every 5 days out of 7.
Well,
and everything.
Just 2 things on that. You remember Dapper Dan? We were growing up, a little fellow that you taught you how to buckle things and tie things. We've gotten away from those fundamentals and those basics. Tying a necktie is a skill. And I've seen even the toughest guys who never wear ties, once they learn to do something like that, and they've accomplished it. You should see how proud they are
Right.
walking around with a t-shirt on, but they got this necktie.
Right.
So, you know, Myron, it's just one of those things our boys need to begin to think about dressing like men and acting like men and not just like little boys all the time. And something like a necktie and a dress shirt and an occasional activity that goes a long way with helping them to step up and be, you know, to become young men. But
Exactly.
yeah, and that's
Exactly.
Boy Scouts teach you how to do things. Every
Right.
10-year-old should join the Boy Scouts.
Right.
So those kinds of things, Myron, it's basic. We're not high tech and it's not rocket science. We got to get back to those basics that you learned at 7 years old or 7th grade, and we've just gotten completely away from it.
Exactly. So, Pastor Johnson, Grooming Greatness, how long have that program been around? Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, that program started in September of 2014, and it was the result of my having seen on TV young fellows gang banging, and girls, and they gang banged some folks at Kroger at the corner of Poplar and Highland, and they were kicking them in the head. Not necessarily. I think they lost their governor. And something burst in my spirit, because I used to hang out on that corner, but when I was hanging out on that corner, I was the only black kid amongst a lot of whites. I served my country and my community through the era of desegregation by being the only black male in every class for 3 years in my high school. And of course, because I was there, we didn't have prom. But I did learn how to get along with others of a lighter hue and from other influences. And I didn't put my footprints in the sand, Myron, for them to follow me and tear up the community. So I determined then I can do something, because I had to navigate through a system that was against me, and I succeeded. They can do it too.
Exactly, exactly.
I think it's really important, the point that you made of how they have lost their governor.
Yeah.
Because I do think that a lot of the issues that we're seeing in this generation is a disconnect between what we had to fight for to get where we are and an appreciation for it. And I think what happens is parents, we always want our kids to have an easier path, but what we've created are ungrateful children who don't always understand, you know, what had to happen in order for them to be there and have the liberties that they have.
Absolutely. And as in the program that Mr. Nicholson has, Man of the House, Grooming Greatness does much of the same. We go back to the old landmark, and we go back to the fundamentals that our parents taught. My dad was a 5-year principal. He, not 5-year, but 5-school principal. He was the principal of the first black school in the city, Courtridge Elementary. Many of us never heard of it, but Courtridge Elementary was the first, one of the first black schools. It was actually Clay, and then it became Courtridge. And he was a principal of Lester Elementary, Caldwell Elementary, Levi Elementary, Lincoln Elementary.
Okay.
So he had plenty of time to help to nurture young fellows and young girls. And he taught me at the table. We learned at the kitchen table, Tony. You remember those days.
Sir.
And I was fortunate enough to have a dad in the house, and because of what he taught me, it prepared me for what I teach the guys at Grooming Greatness, as you're familiar with, Myron. When you came, you saw the affirmations that we use. We use affirmations, Tony. We teach them, I'm only one, but I am one. I can't do everything, but I can do something. What I can do, I ought to do what I'll do by the grace of God. I will do. Consistent persistence breaks down the strongest resistance. If you rush through life, you'll soon get there. Take your time, young man. Worry is like a rocking chair, gives you something to do, but it gets you nowhere. All of those kinds of things that made a difference for me in my life can make a difference for them in theirs.
And they will absolutely remember that. I mean, absolutely. Because I think about even things as simple as, you know, like the other day someone says, well, why don't you start forest fires? Well, because Smokey the Bear told me when I was 5 years old not to start
And even
forest
something,
fires.
you know, something as simple as me reading that article. I mean, when I tied that tie for the first time, I mean, first thing I wanted to do was show my mom. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I had never been taught anything like that, you know, and her and my dad had separated, you know, a long while back and everything. So we never really got a chance to do those things. And I mean, tying that tie was like, it was a big deal, you know, for me.
Whenever boys accomplish anything at that age, 12 years old, they want to make moms proud. I tell people now, and Pastor Johnson knows this, thinking back to when he was a boy, when you earn your first $5, and you can actually do something yourself, go buy the new reflector for your bicycle or the inner tube. I even say when they cut grass, and you know, that first time I remember having a little extra money, not just for the fairground, but I bought a pack of chicken and a loaf of bread. Ooh. And took it home. And I felt so proud that I had brought food into the house. Nobody asked me to do it. It was just something that I thought about doing. Just one point on what Ronnie B said, you know, we wanted life to be easier for our children. That's our problem now. We wanted everything to be push button and easy, and there's not an app for everything. Some things you just have to learn. You just have to do it. You got a flat tire, it's not, there's no app to change that tire. You got to get out there, take the lugs off, get the spare, put it on in a safe location, and then go get it repaired later. So some things we wanted it to be easier, but who said it was supposed to be easier for our boys? They got a big challenge, and our girls too.
Exactly.
They got a huge challenge.
So tell me this here: if one wanted to get involved in your programs, or if they have you know, sons that they want to make a part of it, what should they do? Where should they start? And then we'll talk about ways that they could actually get involved as well. We'll start with you, Pastor Johnson.
Grooming Greatness makes it simple. Every Saturday morning from 9 until 11 a.m. we have breakfast. Free breakfast. It's designed for the men who have formed a Men of Memphis network. And these are men like myself who worked in corporate America. I worked, as you know, Myron, for WHBQ TV for many years in sales. And as a result of that, I met all kinds of people in the market, in the community, who are willing, as I am, to give back to these young men and help them recognize there is another way to navigate through the system beyond, nothing against them, rapping and producing and NFL, NBA, MLB. There are other ways to do it, and we show them by showing them guys like you and like me. Every Saturday from 9 till 11 we have breakfast and we dialogue with the guys.
And I've been to some of those also. Give everybody your address and location.
It is at Memphis Christian Center in the Family Life Center, 5221 Cottonwood Road. That's in the area near Wooddale School at the corner of Cottonwood and Castleman. Many of you are familiar with that area.
Absolutely.
Same question, Tony.
Well, I appreciate it, Pastor. Everybody in that area needs to come over because there are major issues in the Wooddale area. And God bless you for taking that kind of mission and message to those young people. But Myron, we're about to host our 8th annual Man of the House. It was the mentoring event annually at the Civil Rights Museum. This year, it's the 8th annual Man of the House Summer Institute for Boys. Parents can log on to manofthehouse.net. There's a button, you click sign up now. This year we're going for groups. We'll have Pastor Johnson's group if they want to bring a delegation of 5 or 10 of their boys. Youth villages, the Boys and Girls Clubs, the JIF program, that we're concentrating on groups because we want to form a new council of young boys who are smart, who are articulate, who can say we won't sag. We need to, as Pastor Johnson is saying, be consistent about what we say. I'm calling on the mayors, both mayors here, the city council, all these folks to back up and back up what they said, do what they said they were going to do. Our children can't even ride a Metrobus at a discount in this city. There are very few things that, like what Pastor Johnson does, that are consistent. He shouldn't have to spend his own money every week for breakfasts or like we do for snacks. We got good sponsors for some of what we do. Sheriff Bill Oldham, Henry Turley, Charles Ewing. These are good men. Todd Motley. But every community needs what Pastor Johnson is doing, and we're not getting it done, and we're going to have to answer for that. As Ronnie B was saying, we got to answer for a lot. When they're brawling on Kroger parking lots and parents, this thing, last point, this thing about 150 children not qualifying on these 1,000 summer jobs, that's outrageous. I mean, we can't blame the children. Yeah, they have a responsibility, that both they and their parents. But if these 150 weren't there, I'm sure there were another 150 ready to go. Let's not play games with this. These children, I mean, it's not the children's fault for not showing up. It's partly their fault. But something had to happen to make this thing work. 8,000 need jobs and only 1,000 or 850 have jobs. And that's insane when Pastor Johnson has young men who need a job, like they do at Southwest Prep and every other school. I don't get it, and that's where our commitment has to be stronger in this community.
Exactly. Contact information, Pastor Johnson.
You may contact Memphis Christian Center at 362-5493. That's area code 901-362-5493. Or you may ask for Mary Williams when you call, and she will be sure to connect you to those individuals who will be heading up Grooming Greatness for that week. By the way, we have individuals from all across the city, men who are very experienced in navigating through the system, who come and dialogue with these guys every Saturday, and they're teaching them how to make sure that they understand that there are other avenues that they can take, and they show them how. Just for instance, this Saturday we're going to have someone come in and show them how to run a crane, how to run a bulldozer. That people feed their families like this. And people feed their families by going and selling. People feed their families by doing master mechanics.
Yes,
and we're showing them the tools necessary and the way it's done.
That'll work.
Absolutely.
Contact information, Tony.
manofthehouse.net. Parents can sign up now. They can go to, they can send me an email, manofthehousementoring@gmail.com, and I'll do something rare, give my phone number out, because I do want parents to reach out to us. It's 901 area code 336-2399. But the best way is to go to manofthehouse.net. Click on, you'll see some of the other information, the historical piece and the work piece that Pastor Johnson is talking about. We have to do that. But manofthehouse.net. Get signed up today. It's Monday, June 29th at Stacks, the 8th annual Man of the House Summer Institute for Boys.
That'll work. Well, thank you both for coming by
you.
and hanging out on today. Ladies and gentlemen, y'all definitely find out more about these organizations. Get involved where you see that you can get involved, because our young men definitely need it here in Memphis. And thank you again for coming by and everything.
Myron, you keep doing what you're doing,
I appreciate
Man,
it.
We appreciate you.
You set a great
It's
example
awesome.
for these young men, man.
Yes.
Work hard, you're a family man, and God bless you for the work that you do, even sharing this kind of message.
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And it goes without saying that whatever y'all doing, just count me in.
Yes,
and just
sir.
tell me where to be
I got you.
and when to be there.
Monday the
And,
29th at Stacks. Yeah, you gotta stick your head in there for sure.
got you covered,
Yes,
for
sir.
sure.
I know you will.